order the regular meeting of the Calimesa City Council meeting. If you'd like to speak, be sure to get a speaker slip and speak your name clearly at the podium. At this time, we'll move on to call of order and roll call.
Councilmember Cundiff.
Here.
Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
Councilmember Manley.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cervantes.
Here.
Mayor Molina.
Here, thank you. And let the record show that City Manager Colbo is here, City Attorney Stephen Flowers here, City Clerk Gertis is here, Finance Director Reed is here, Interim Public Works Director Shakir is here, City Engineer Thornton, Fire Chief O'Connell, and Sheriff Captain Northrup. So let's move on to the pledge, and Councilman Cervantes will lead us in the pledge.
Please stand. Join me in saluting our nation's flag. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so I'm pleased to introduce the gentleman in the audience, Mr. Dave Armstrong. He's General Manager for South Mesa Water, and he will be making a presentation on water issues here in Calimesa, and we're happy to have him here. So let's welcome him. Thank you.
And I really want to send a special thank you to you, Mayor Molina and Eric Condiff, council member, for coming to my ribbon cutting recently. We just did a ribbon cutting for a grant that we received that I'm going to talk about a little bit, but really well-attended event and had a lot of really big water people in the state there, state water contractors, somebody from the State Water Board, the chairman of the Board of Metropolitan, and Mayor Molina. So we had some big hitters. It was pretty good. San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District and the San Antonio Pass. So as I mentioned, I'm Dave Armstrong, General Manager of South Mesa Water Company. Been there 25 years. I serve on 3 state regulated water boards. I'm the Vice President of the California Association of Mutual Water Companies, which South Mesa is a mutual water company, and that's kind of my heart and soul. So I also serve on 2 local water boards. I serve on the Beaumont Basin Water Master, which is a big one for Calimesa because it falls into the city of Calimesa, even though it's the Beaumont Water Master. And South Mesa has about 11,000 acre-feet of water in storage out there right now, which is great. It's something we can fall back on when we need that extra water. And I also serve on the Yucaipa Sustainable Groundwater Management Agency. I'm vice president of that. That was one that Calimesa was a member of that one. When we first got in there, I got Calimesa to get in there as a land use agency. SGMA formed in, I think, 2014. Jerry Brown made it where it was a law that he put together where we had to form and manage all unadjudicated basins. Calimesa is one of them, or the Yucaipa Basin. And we were in overdraft from, I'm proud to say it wasn't my fault, but some agencies were over pumping the basin without having enough supplies to back it up. So we formed this group called Yucaipa Sustainable Groundwater Water Management Agency, and I would encourage Calimesa to get back in there as a land use agency. Right now, in the beginning, we had the 3 cities, Redlands, Yucaipa, and Calimesa. And since then, Redlands has pulled out, and so has Calimesa. So really, we're left with Yucaipa making all land use decisions, for which I think you guys should be there. You guys are the land use agency for the areas I serve, so I would like that. So the history of South Mesa, we were established in 1912. We're shareholder owned, not for profit, and we are the oldest water systems in the state of California. We're the bedrock of water. We got water rights that go back to, and I'm sure Mike Thornton can repeat it when I say it, 1848, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. That's how far back our water rights go. And so when it comes to water in California, the state recognizes us as the bedrock of water. And South Mesa is proud of that. We came, originally the 3 mutual water companies were formed up here. We came from the Yucaipa Redlands Land Company. And South Mesa was formed in 1912. We were number 1, 2, and 3. Yucaipa Valley Water District was number 1. Western Heights was number 3 in the Dunlop area. And I believe in the early 70s, Yucaipa Water number one, sold water out of their service area, and they were taken over by the state and forced to become a special district. So that's kind of how the history of the mutual waters happened up here. So what's South Mesa doing now? So we have completed some really big projects. We received a grant for $10.2 million to do all of County Line Road. And with that, we put in, I believe it was almost 11,000 feet of pipe, water mains. Huge infrastructure for Calimesa and Yucaipa. We also put in 7,000 feet of water service lines. And we consolidated a severely damaged or disadvantaged mobile home park in Yucaipa. And that's how the grant came about. The state came to me and said, we need you to consolidate this mobile home park. And it's in Yucaipa. And I'm saying, well, we are a severely disadvantaged community too. You know, we did an income survey, we found that out. And I said, well, what's in it for South Mesa's shareholders if I take on an albatross that is like that? And they said, well, what do you need? I said, 2 pipelines on County Line Road, the main artery of our whole water system, a new well on Calimesa Boulevard that I'm still hoping to get, and they wanted me to consolidate the mobile home park. We did it. Now we got brand new lines in Calimesa for years to come. I don't think we're ever going to see the end of it in my lifetime. So we also completed a reservoir rehabilitation on County Line Road in Douglas. And what have we got going? So now what I want to talk to you guys about is what we're doing for a sustainable future. We built some great partnerships, as Linda talked about, with Valley District and the Pass Agency. Are you guys all aware? I'm just curious. Do you know what the state water contractors do or who they are? Maybe not. Yeah. So we have 2 of them down here. There's 27 in the state. We have 2 of them down at the end. San Gorgonio Pass is the last one on the list as far as the state water coming down from Northern California. So they bring down that state project water for groundwater recharge and for treatment plants. So it's not a reliable source of water. It's a supplemental supply of water. So you don't build your system or services around going, oh, I got this. It's going to be here forever. You could have an earthquake. You could have any disruption to the state water line, and then you don't have that water. So what South Mesa is doing, working with Valley District, San Gorgonio Pass, when I got my grant, I'm putting in these 2 new 16-inch water lines. I got together with the Pass Agency and I said, hey, why don't we do something where I give you my old line, since the state water line, by the way, just happens to run on Bryant Street here in Calimesa. Unbelievable lie of the land for us. So I made this deal with the Pass Agency. They're going to take over my old water lines. We're going to bring state water down from Bryant Street through our construction job that's been a mess out there, and we're going to be able to recharge next to the Calimesa Park. Bringing state water project down from Northern California and putting it right here in Calimesa. That's amazing. I mean, it's sustainable, and we will only do it in wet years. We'll take that water, buy as much as we can, put it in the ground. In dry years, we take it out like it's a bank account. So we don't want to build homes dependent on it, but we want it as a supplemental supply. So that's pretty much what South Mesa is doing right now. I'm hoping Calimesa, I know we're going to start working together a lot more. We also have the basin that we're going to build, the stormwater capture basin that the city's going to be building with Riverside County Flood Control. Love to use that as a recharge basin as well. Get stormwater, let's get that state project water. We sit on top of, do we have that video? Well, I got a video I want to show you of
Yeah,
our
they can bring
groundwater
it up.
basin, so you kind of just get an idea of what I'm talking about when I talk about our groundwater basins.
I think they're bringing that up. Oh, there it was.
So USGS put out this video, and you can kind of see it in that still shot alone. If you go over to the right side of it, you can see. Sorry. Oh, no, you're good. They're trying to do it at the same time. There we go. But this is an incredible video. You see the side on the right. That's Calimesa on the right, where you see that massive basin. Over here is Western Heights. So you can just see it. That holds about 130,000 acres of water. We can recharge that like crazy. So as you go up, now we're getting up to where Linda Molina lives. We get up there to the top of County Line Road. And as you swing around, you see the basins. And not having access to the state project lines, you know, having all of these things is making us sustainable for the future. So that's what I have for you. I don't know if you guys have anything for me, any questions or anything? I mean, this video kind of says it.
I know you attended the basin, the Beaumont Basin Water meeting. You're on the board there?
Yeah.
Anything happening there? Since we don't go to that.
Yeah, there's not a lot going on right now. You know, continuously we're updating the rules and the regulations. I think we have a pretty good handle on everything out there right now, and I hate spending money for more studies. We pretty much know where we're at, and South Mesa's in a great spot out there. We have 11,000 acre-feet of water in storage right now, and I only have one well, or South Mesa has one well, the one at the lower part of the golf course. So when the Sigma, Ukaipa Sigma thing, when we get limited on what we can pump, we can always fall back on that 11,000. So I think our portfolio is pretty solid. And the more water we put in these basins, I can't see that enough, Will. That video is amazing.
I know.
It is. It's just, but so the more we put in there, that's a permanent supply of water that won't go away. Right now, our recharge is coming from Oakland, right, from the local mountains, and it just comes down that cliff. But if we can start putting it in here directly, I think we're going to be in good shape for a lot of years.
So I don't know if anybody's noticed on Calimesa Boulevard, Mountain Water District. Okay.
South Mountain
South
Water
Mountain
Company?
Yeah. Are you familiar with that? Okay. Did you want to mention it?
Sure.
Okay.
So South Mountain Water Company was a mutual water company that was a part of the Ukaipa Sigma, and through a deal, Ukaipa Valley Water District, it wasn't well known, the deal for sure, but they purchased South Mountain Water Company at a pretty discounted rate, $360,000 for all the shares. And that includes 55 acres of land off of Wildwood Canyon Road, 500 permanent acre-feet of water rights. So it's kind of a hard deal to explain. Can't figure out why it happened, but it did. And Ukaipa now is the majority shareholder of South Mountain.
I saw it. I usually just see cows grazing there, but I hadn't noticed that sign.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a sign on Calimesa Boulevard.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Did
Thank you for
wanna-
having me.
Did you want to touch on the Healy hydrant?
Yeah, I was just talking to the fire department over here, and I want to say we're going to be putting a helio. Do you know the official name of it? Is it helio hydrant? I think it's the helicopter hydrant. I think that's what it's called. Okay. Heli hydrants. There you go. And so the San Antonio Pass Water Agency is working with Extian Gutierrez to get some funding. They got grant funding to put these hydrants in different areas, and we have one above Mesa Grande where we have a vacant lot. And basically what it is it would tie into our water main, and if there is a fire up in that upper area, they can flip a switch. It fills up a reservoir that's about 10 foot in diameter, fills it up, and the helicopters just continuously dip in there and put out a fire without having to go somewhere else. So pretty incredible, and I'm going to work with the fire department on that and make sure they're in on everything we're doing, but it's definitely a positive.
Thank you. Colleagues, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
I don't have a question, just more of a comment, because I was at the ribbon cutting ceremony, and I just want to say, I think you're being very kind by not explaining the intricacies of working with San Bernardino Pass and all of those agencies coming together to make that project viable. That was impressive to see that many hands in there working together to get it done, and your role in that was
That's great.
I just want to say congratulations to that.
Thank
That
you.
was fantastic.
And that's a great point. I don't, and even Calimesa, we had to knock out those agreements on how we were going to work on Calimesa or County Line Road. We got that done. But yeah, Heather Dyer is the GM of Valley District. She's incredible. And she's all over the state doing incredible things, real big thinker. I mean, just to get a hookup to the state water line is about $1 million. I mean, at least it was 10 years ago. What is it now? And they're handling that portion for us. The pipeline is going to be handled by the San Antonio Pass Water Agency and the recharge basin, and South Mesa is turning over their pipelines to them for that. And on that same piece of property, they're going to give us the space to build the new reservoir. So Yeah, you're right. It was pretty incredible to see that and be recognized. And the state's actually, Michelle Morgan for the State Water Board is asking us to come up and speak about the collaboration because they're just not seeing that around the state at that level.
Well, we saw it firsthand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys were there and thank you again.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah,
Thank you for coming.
call me
and
anytime at
sharing all
South
this
Mesa. I'm always
information
there.
For people who aren't aware. Thank you so much. Do we have any communications from the public? Okay, so no communications requests. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda, consent calendar, and waiver of full reading
Oh,
of the ordinance.
we do have, actually, looks like we do have a card for public comment. And then also, when we get to the consent calendar, I do have an item I'd like to pull for explanation.
Okay, Heather.
I didn't see it on the agenda, so that's why I put the card in.
Oh, okay. So you want to, oh, so your chamber update.
Oh, it's there.
It's there.
Where?
Right at the bottom of page 2.
Yes.
Oh, okay, then
I'll save you.
and somebody brought this to me later. Oh, that's probably mine. Thank you. That's so helpful.
And everyone, this is Allison from the News Mirror. We're so grateful for her to come to our meetings and record our meetings. We didn't have someone for a while, so thank you for coming. Okay, so before we make that motion, we'd like to pull an item from the consent calendar.
Yes, item 1, we had a correction to the minutes, but the city attorney has additional comments on that.
So at this point, I'll get a motion and approval for items 2 through 7, and a waiver of the full reading of ordinances.
I can move to approve the consent calendar. Can we approve number 1 as amended? Amended, or we mean pull first?
No, we have further,
Okay.
we have a further
So I'll
explanation.
move to approve,
2 through 7.
yeah, 2 through 7. So the agenda consent calendar 2 through 7.
In a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That makes it 5-0. Okay, and we'll go ahead and take discussion.
Yeah,
on
so
items.
I'll have the city attorney take this one.
Okay.
Yes, before you are a set of corrected minutes here with just 2 additional notes to reflect comments made by Councilmember Garcia. Those are fairly self-explanatory and highlighted. I would like to add a recommendation that regarding the closed session announcement on item A, the announcement actually should be amended to note the reason for the council member's recusal. Councilmember Garcia recused himself from discussion of that litigation matter due to the potential conflict of interest based on the proximity of his property to the property that is a subject of the lawsuit. So, in an abundance of caution, he did recuse himself from that item, and it was announced as such following closed session.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, so there's no discussion. I'll take a motion to approve item number 1.
I move to approve item number 1 as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Not opposed, it's 5-0. Thank you so much. Okay. Oh, thank you. At this point, we'll open public hearing. Oh, Sheepa? Oh, see, I missed you too. I'm sorry. Heather, would you please join us at the podium?
I was going to wait until the actual time, now that I know it's on here. I just didn't.
It is your time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's gremlins in the room again. Yes, you're. Good to see you, Heather.
You as well. Happy New Year. I know it's a couple months after, but I've been out of town for a while. And congratulations, Mayor Molina, and 2 new faces. I did meet you at the, I don't remember what we called that. The forum, yes. So welcome and congratulations on your wins. Let me just pull this up here. Okay, so again, my name's Heather Perry. I'm a board member on the Chamber of Commerce. I'm just going to go over this month's review. Our breakfast meeting was February last Tuesday. Guest speaker was Life and Success Coach Megan Bunnell. and it was very well attended. Our March breakfast will be March 11th at 7:30 and will be held at Cafe Royale. The guest speaker, oh, I knew how to say his name before, Haseen Sin from San Gregorio Memorial Hospital. Everyone is welcome. There's no charge to attend unless you purchase a meal from the restaurant. The installation chamber, or installation dinner, the chamber recently hosted our annual installation and community awards dinner. On behalf of our board of directors, we thank the city of Calimesa for their participation in the event. Scholarship program. Calimesa Chamber Foundation is accepting applications for their scholarship program. The scholarship program is open to all class of 2025 students in the San Gregorio Pass. The application can be found on the Calimesa Chamber website under Foundation tab. We will be celebrating our scholarship winners at our annual scholarship tea on May 22nd. The only thing we have left is membership. 4 new members joined the chamber, 5 membership renewals. Our total membership at this time is 132. So thank you for letting me come up. As discombobulated as I was today, I appreciate it, and you have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
And congratulations on your new president. For for the chamber. Thank you so much, Heather. Okay, now I'll open up the public hearing. We'll have a staff presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At this time, I'll bring up Mike Thornton, our city engineer, to give the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My presentation will be brief, as long as it comes up. That'll do it. Thank you. All right, magic. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about TUMF and the changes to the TUMF program. And again, I'm going to be very brief. I will start out by saying Cameron Brown is here from the WRCOG, and he can answer any detailed or in-depth questions that I can't tackle. He has been very instrumental in helping the city through the past number of years processing projects with the WRCOG within the TUMF program. We have a number of credit agreements, so none of our stuff seems to be easy, and he has been very instrumental in helping us work our way through those challenges. So what is WRCOG? Cameron can explain it much better than I can, but it's a joint powers agency that includes the County of Riverside and 18 western Riverside County cities, of which Calimesa is the #1 city. We are the number 18 city as far as population, but we don't plan to stay that way. So that's it. So what is TUMF? TUMF is a funding plan. It's basically a development impact fee. So it's a way of raising funds to build regional infrastructure. I think that's probably the simplest way to say it. I did put right on here, enlarge the regional system capacity. So when we have new development, it brings traffic impacts. Traffic impacts are mitigated by increasing capacity on highways and arterials. That is what the program is about. So the program started in 2002. If I get any of this wrong, Cameron can correct me. But the program was established then, and the fees were established. And since then, the fees have been adjusted a couple of times. At that time, your predecessors, I don't think anybody was on the council in 2002, voted to approve and be part of the program, adopted the fees, and we've been collecting the fees on new development since 2002. We, at that time, were responsible to calculate and collect TUMF fees. And on projects, various projects, sometimes there is some ambiguity on what the fee should actually be. And if we didn't collect enough money, the city was responsible to pay the difference if we made a mistake and didn't collect those fees. We had one project that fell into that camp that we had some challenges with over the years. The reason I bring that up is later I'm going to tell you that the COG stepped forward and said, you know what, we're not going to place that burden on the cities anymore. We will take care of it, and it was very well received when they volunteered to do that. So, that said, there was an update in 2016. The fees were adjusted upward. In doing so, two things were considered. The network. What the COG does is they reach out to all of the agencies and say, what are your TUMF eligible projects that you want to add to the network? We in Calimesa do not try to add a lot of projects to the network. We've historically taken the position that we would rather not add more projects because that increases the fees. We will stay focused on the interchanges along Interstate 10. So we did not add any projects when the 2016 call for projects came, but other cities and jurisdictions did add projects. So when the network changes, it adds more cost, which impacts the fee calculation. After that, construction costs were also a factor that changes the scope or changes the overall cost, and then it ultimately impacts the fee amount. So that was considered in 16, and a new slate of fees were proposed at that time, and the city did accept those fees by resolution and ordinance. In 2018, the COG volunteered to take care of all of the calculating and collecting of fees and got us out of the middle of that. And as I said earlier, that was very well received, and we adopted that. So that's the end of the background. I know it was very brief, but a lot going on with the COG, so I could go on, or Cameron could go on for quite a bit longer, but that's just a basic overview. So now, 2024, what's happening? Well, they've re-identified the purpose of the fee, which is part of a nexus study. So a lot of things that we decided way back in 2002 are just reiterated as part of the nexus study now. They've identified the mitigation projects. Again, the call for projects, the different agencies brought projects forward. Those are assimilated, and again, is to mitigate traffic impacts. As part of the program, we look at health, safety, and welfare, as well as development of regional systems. What needs to be improved? In our case, it's our interchanges. In order to accommodate the new traffic loads, we need more capacity at all 4 of our interchanges. The last component that I'll mention was they do put together cost estimates. We do review those cost estimates, and we do find them reasonable, and that is part of the action that we will ask council to take tonight, that all 3 of these components are considered when you approve the fee, or consider approval of the fee. Just as a side note, Jeff now represents us, but when this came forward, his predecessor did represent us, so we were part of the executive committee that voted to approve the nexus study and to adopt the new fee structure. So, I just put on the slide the regional network. As you can see, lots and lots of lines and dots. Dots are interchanges. Yellow dots are bridges. Not a lot of bridges are shown there, but I think there are some. I don't know, is that more the, I'll say the Paris area where I see a number of them? And then railroad crossings are also shown in a green dot on the exhibit. And then the lines, of course, are shown as the capacity of the roadways. So a very large system throughout WRCOG's service area. This exhibit, it was included in the packet that we distributed. It was in the front part of the Nexus study in the executive summary. So but for us, I kind of zoomed in because this is our jurisdiction. Do not pay attention to the blue lines. We'll have to work with, we got this off of Cameron's website, and the boundary between Beaumont and Calimesa isn't quite shown properly. But it just shows you the projects. It's our 4 interchanges, and then Singleton is shown on here as well, along with a little portion of Cherry Valley. Other than that, those are all the projects that we have in the network.
I will note on that, Mike, you mentioned Singleton, the extension that connected Bryant and Singleton, that was a TUMF eligible project that was funded through a TUMF credit agreement with, I believe, the developer of the JP Ranch project. Is that correct, Mike?
That is correct. So, here are the old fees, or the current fees. Here are the new fees. A couple things I want to highlight here for you is, because of new state law, a uniform fee for single-family residential is no longer allowed. So you will see in the current fee study, the number is $10,104 regardless of the size of the residential unit. But with the new adoption, the larger the house, the larger the fee is now the new correlation. And just to add some background to that, the idea is there's more people living in a larger house, which means more cars, which means more trips. They should pay more. You may notice that the multifamily went up a little bit, but in comparison to the single-family residential, much less. Industrial,
I believe, yeah, I was going to say, I think some of these are not lined up. I think the industrial current fee, it should be the retail current fee, because that one didn't change.
so is that
Yeah, so
Okay.
the 186,
so I got those, okay.
yeah, that's, yeah.
Sorry about that. So I got 186 and then the 772 goes with? Okay. All right, so sorry about that. With that, that kind of ends the presentation. Our recommendation, as shown, is to open up the public hearing and take public testimony. I don't think you have any cards, but take public testimony. And then adopt the first reading. The second reading will be at the next council meeting. And then adopt the resolution tonight is what we're asking council approval for.
So I do just want to add a couple of things to that. First of all, the fees that you saw, I'd just like to reiterate, those are for new development only. So those are for initial building permits. So those are not paid by residents, at least not directly. You know, obviously it's built into the home costs. The home costs are largely driven by the market prices. So, and then if you purchase an existing home, the fee is not paid at that point either. It's just for brand new construction only. And again, since it's market driven, you know, our adjacent county to the north of us, San Bernardino County, does not have a similar type of fee. They do not have a similar type of program. This is a little bit of a unique program in Southern California and really the state. And actually, you know, just so the public knows and the council knows, my last podcast episode that I released on Friday, I did interview Chris Gray, the Deputy Executive Director of WRCOG, and we talked pretty extensively about the TUMF program and the demographics of the region. So people want more information on that, you can listen to that. That has some additional information on WRCOG and the TUMF program.
Thank you, Will. Mike, that was a very clear understanding of what TUMF is, because it's not easy to understand. So thank you for your explanation. Mr. Brown, would you like to say anything? Does anyone have any comments for Mr. Brown from
I actually got a question for
Okay.
Bill or
Do you mind coming
for
up?
Brown.
Thank you. Cameron Brown. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
yes. On the last slide, can we pull it up? Yes. On the current fee for the industrial tab,
Yes.
why was the reason that it went down to 233 instead of increasing the fees?
So that's a typo.
That was a
Industrial was at 186 before. It is now raised to 233. It's per square foot. On non-residential developments, it's on a per square foot basis.
Okay, so it's supposed to be $1.
Yeah,
Right.
where it says service for $1.06, that should be industrial. The retail current should be $7.72, and then the service should be $4.89 for current. So the retail, service, and office did not change, correct?
Yes, our
Yeah.
executive committee decided, the Nexus study actually recommended raising the retail and service rates as a mitigation for new development. The executive committee decided to keep them as they were. And they have the authority to do that. They just can't raise the rates above the recommendation. They can't arbitrarily raise it. That's against the Mitigation Fee Act.
Okay. And the other thing too was, for example, because I bought new, so that means if my current taxes right now, I'm paying around $10,000 or $11,000. So with the new proposal fee, are any new homeowners with a brand new property, they will be paying an additional $2,000 on top of that.
So often when there's new homes, unless you're developing it as yourself, a one-off, almost 99% of the applications we get are from one developer who does about 10 units at a time, like a Lennar, a TriPoint, or a D.R. Horton. They'll come in and do that, and they usually will roll that cost onto the buyer. But if you are building a home on your own, you're pulling every single permit yourself, yes, you're going to pay an additional fee when you want to get your occupancy. You'll be paying that higher fee.
So I think we want to clarify, this is not a tax. This is a development impact fee that's paid at building permit. So the city also has a number of development impact fees for roads, parks, police, fire. School districts have those as well. These aren't on your tax bill. So you'll never see these. These are paid by the builder themselves. You bought the home, it was already built into the price that you paid for that home. So no residents pay this or no businesses pay this. It's only paid by who built the home originally.
Okay, so it's already included in the.
Yeah.
It's included in the purchase price. Yeah.
Okay.
Does not affect the property tax.
One of the other things too is, can you explain how the proposed ordinance and 2024 Nexus study comply with the Magnitude Fee Act, specifically regarding the relationship between the fees used, the type of development project, the need for public facilities, and the cost of public facilities? How does the city plan to address potential traffic congestions in all parts of the western Riverside County if capacity of the regional system is not enlarged or development does not contribute to the cost of improving it?
Okay, that was a long question. Can we tackle that first part again?
Yeah, so for the proposed ordinance in the 2024 Nexus study comply with the Magnitude Fee Act.
Sorry, what?
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with that. What?
Mitigation fee?
The Mitigation
Yes,
Fee Act?
specifically regarding the relationship between the fees used, the type of development project, the need for public facilities, and the cost of public facilities.
Okay, so the Mitigation Fee Act basically requires a nexus study. We have to determine what we are mitigating and what we're mitigating for. What we're mitigating for is additional traffic caused by new development. The nexus study needs to look at how we're going to mitigate that. And the way we're going to mitigate that is by adding capacity to our road network. This is improved interchanges, widening roadways, widening bridges, creating grade separations over railroad crossings. That's the way that we're mitigating for traffic. We have to do an analysis in the Nexus study. We run a transportation model. It's a very complex model that takes the Southern California Associated Government's 2045 forecast, plugs that into the transportation model, and then we determine what are we going to need if we build all of these new homes, add all of these new jobs. How is that going to affect traffic on our network? And through that model, we're able to see what fails. This interchange is no longer working because we have all these new homes and traffic. This road is also failing. Just failing means it's a certain amount of delay. So once we figure out what's going to fail, we have to mitigate those areas. We either have to widen the road or improve the interchange, improve the bridge. All of those things have a cost, and that's what associated to the fee. The portion that you're contributing to new traffic, that's what fee you're going to be paying so that we can mitigate the network and improve traffic. What I should also add is that existing need we don't cover. So if the road is already failing, that is not the responsibility of new development. That is worked into the formulas on the Nexus study. So the Nexus study fees are only related to additional traffic that's going to be caused by new development only. I hope that answers.
No, it does,
your
because
question.
I'm getting the bigger picture. So the reason why I was asking is because of our first responders, when they have to go from one location to another, and then development's being built, then there's congestion for our first responders. So for the other one, how does the city plan to address potential traffic congestions in all parts of the western Riverside County if the capacity of the regional system is not enlarged and development does not contribute to the cost of improving it. Which I guess that was the follow-up on.
Yeah,
what you
that's what
stated.
TUMF exactly is doing, is making sure that new development pays their fair share towards improving the infrastructure.
Yeah, and that's why when I mentioned like San Bernardino County doesn't have something like that, so they have to do it city by city and figuring out what their regional impacts are and trying to kind of piecemeal it. And TUMP was actually created because that was a problem in another part of the county. This originated in southwestern Riverside County, correct?
Yes, it originated there, and I actually worked in San Bernardino County prior to coming to WRCOG. There is a regional fee program, but it's done at every single city level. So Yucaipa has their own set of fees. Fontana has their own set of fees. To be perfectly honest with you, it's a little bit of a mess. The TUMP program does it so much better. It's a uniform fee. You don't have cities competing with each other, waiving fees for some developers to come. It doesn't work like that, which is what we saw a lot in San
And I'll,
Bernardino County.
I'll give you an example of how it actually works and benefits the city of Calimesa. So, as you know, having to drive Cherry Valley Boulevard every day, obviously the interchange itself is physically located in Calimesa. However, a lot of the impacts actually come from the city of Beaumont. Without TUMF, we would have to work out ways to fix problems that are being caused by other cities. But because we have TUMF and we have access to the TUMF network of regional fees, we benefit from all that development because they're paying into the TUMF program, and then that benefits the region and not just Beaumont specifically. So one of the major things that we have a credit agreement for Cherry Valley Boulevard to contribute to the reconstruction of that interchange. And our development alone, because we've been kind of behind the curve on development compared to our neighbors, our development fees alone collected would not be able to pay for that. But regionally we can, because our infrastructure is impacted by that. So that's actually a perfect example of how TUMF is actually working for us.
City manager just answered my question without, I was reading my mind or something. Thank you for being here, but maybe you could say a little bit more about how TUMF has benefited the pass area in the past, and because I think a lot of residents might be thinking, maybe some council members, staff even, how has TUMF benefited this area, and generally speaking, but also how has it benefited Calimesa in the past? I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you could think of a few things,
I'm glad you asked this question.
that we'd be happy to hear. So, thank you.
So, of projects that have been done in the city of Calimesa, I can think of two major ones that have been done. It was Desert Lawn Road. There was an extension to Cherry Valley Boulevard. That was done before I got here. I'm not sure the exact date on that. We also had, as explained by your city manager, we had Singleton Road that was built. That was built via credit agreement with JP Ranch, right? Is that the name of the development? We also have current credit agreements with the Summerwind development. And there's another one that the name is escaping me right now. But we've also, in our last, what we call our zone meeting, this is where we meet with the city of Calimesa, city of Beaumont, and the city of Banning, and the county unincorporated. That's called our pass zone. And we meet every year to determine allocations. Last year, historically, the pass has not seen a whole lot of development since 2003. But in the past 7-8 years, that has spiked. And we've now seen the zone, the fees that we've collected have grown quite a bit. So the last meeting, each of our agencies were able to make some pretty big requests of the program. In Banning, we had the Sun Lakes Boulevard extension. In Beaumont, we had a major contribution towards SR60 Potrero interchange. And in Calimesa, we did a big allocation for I-10 Singleton. So those are the big projects that have benefited the pass. Of course, there's been other projects. Sunset grade separation in Banning was a big one. We've had some historically problems in Beaumont, which I don't want to get into, so we haven't had a lot of improvements in Beaumont, but that's my
No, thank you.
best description of our improvements in the pass area.
it's helpful to see how we are benefiting, not just Calimesa, but regionally from
Yes.
this program. So thank you.
I'm glad you asked that, because I remember when I was my first term, my first comment was, it costs so much money, why don't we just not pay anything? And so you can see what happens when you don't. You don't get anywhere.
Right. You're not going to get your TUMF money.
That's
You're also not going to get your Measure A money from RCTC.
Right.
So you definitely
Right.
don't want to leave the program.
John?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. You answered my question a little bit, but I was kind of interested in the total fees that are being collected, like year by year. I don't know if you know off the top of your head, or just generally speaking, what those were looking like in total.
Yep.
And then how I was interested, kind of how that was tracking year to year from
Yeah.
from the 2016
Absolutely.
March till now.
So when the program first started in 2003, we had about 50 million that we collected on a yearly basis. In 2006, it had a massive spike. We collected, even with lower rates, we collected almost 170 million. And then, of course, in 2008, 2009, it plummeted. Most of our fees are collected through residential development. In 2020, we were right in the middle of COVID, and normally we were collecting about 60 million a year throughout the 2010s, on average, give or take a little bit here and there. But in 2020, we estimated that development was going to, sink again. That's what we were thinking. So we had an estimate that we're barely going to do 30 million. Well, in fact, in 2020, we jumped from 60 million to 70 million. Development in the entire Inland Empire, and especially in WRCOG region, kept going up, and it's gone steadily up ever since last year. Last year we collected 80 million in TUMF, mostly in Menifee, Winchester, that area. That area has been growing quite a bit. Mostly unincorporated areas, we've been collecting quite a bit of fee revenue.
Just one question kind of connected to that. Looking in comparison, the 2016 to this study, I noticed like total population for that region kind of actually shrunk just a small degree, and then I think the jobs as well went
Right.
down a little bit. There's obviously a tremendous amount of modeling and analysis you guys are doing and all the work there. I was just curious, as you're looking at an increase there in fees as things have kind of moved forward, but do you guys discuss some of the the reasons for the population loss, and then how that, I know in total looks like all the way out to 2045, obviously you guys are expecting a reversal of all those things, but I was just kind of curious some of the reasons, I guess, behind, and when you guys are discussing all this modeling and stuff, how you see that reversing or changing course for our region?
Well, we don't do any of the forecasts. The forecasts, we rely on Southern California Associated Governments. They do it's called the RTP, Regional Transportation Plan, and they give us those demographic forecasts. Population, I believe, increased. The big change from the last time we did this was that the forecast changed. The forecast in employment dropped considerably, which meant some of the traffic dropped, and a lot of projects that we thought needed to be mitigated in 2017, last time we did this study, now don't need to be mitigated because the traffic's not there anymore. However, the fees still went up because of the project costs, materials, steel, wood, cement, and then labor, of course. Those skyrocketed. Most of our projects doubled in cost. Most of our bridges and railroad grade separations tripled just within the past 8 years. So I hope that answers your question on that.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
All right.
I got one more question.
Yes.
I was just talking to my colleague here, Jeff. You were talking about zones and stuff. Like, we got a few bridges here, Singleton, Calimesa, and then, of course, the Summer Winds, the Cherry Valley area.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're paying these fees. So how can we actually start working on improving those bridges? because it's more about, you know, we are we are paying those fees. So how can we provide the support so we can start building these things?
Right. So every year, we get together with the past zone and we have what's called a zone TAC meeting, and then we also have a zone executive committee meeting. So I believe, Mr. Cervantes, you're the representative from Calimesa. So you're going to be involved in that zone executive meeting. Basically, you approve what staff recommends, but the staff gets together and we allocate the money that we have and that we forecast to have over the next 5 years. In our last meeting, that's where we identified certain projects for all of our agencies. The big one was the Singleton interchange. We allocated $8 million for that interchange. We also allocated $2.1 million for Cherry Valley interchange. And Mike, if there's something else that I'm forgetting, but that's where we allocate the money, and we say, we're going to put money towards this. And that comes from our public works directors, our city engineers. They ask for that funding. That gets approved by the executive committee. And then we start doing reimbursement agreements so that when you're ready to do the work, you send us those, you do the work, you send us a reimbursement, we pay it. So right now we're going to pay $8 million towards Singleton interchange whenever you guys are ready to start the work.
And that's I want to talk about when you're ready to start to work, because it's a very big topic. So understand that these interchanges, the work has already been going on for many, many years. It takes sometimes up to 20 years to do an interchange through Caltrans from start to finish, from concept to ribbon cutting for an interchange. We started work on the Cherry Valley interchange in 2018. We completed the project approval and environmental document phase of the project. There's 4 phases that a project goes through. We're in phase 3 right now for Cherry Valley. This is the project costs, or the project specifications and estimates phase, which is basically the design phase and right-of-way acquisition phase. And then you get to construction. The TUMF program, based on costs and the TUMF maximum share that is allocated to the Cherry Valley Boulevard interchange, will not cover the cost of construction. So we have to go out and get federal funds for that. Well, you can imagine how difficult that is. Staff actually, Mike and I went out to meet with the city of Temecula last week to discuss their efforts to acquire a $50 million grant for an interchange in their area. And the links that they had to go to get that money, which they were the only agency in California in the entire state to get a grant of that size for an infrastructure project. And that was back before California policies on capacity enhancement were a lot more lax than they are today. They're very, very restrictive. The state has basically taken a policy that they do not want to do any type of capacity enhancements. So getting projects approved, it just gets more and more difficult. So just because there hasn't been dirt moved doesn't mean that we're not working on it. And the design and right-of-way phase is scheduled to be done at the end of 2025, and we're already starting to lay the groundwork to try to get funding at the federal level and the state level to acquire the construction funds to actually build that interchange. But just understand that just looking at what Temecula did, and they got together a coalition of 24 agencies, cities, Caltrans, RCTC, WRCOG, Department of Defense, because they have a lot of military traffic that goes through. Customs and Border Patrol also was a support of that, and so it was a massive undertaking. They had to take several trips to Washington D.C. They actually had to go through 2 different rounds of applications to be able to get it, and this is about a 200 to 250 page application to apply for these funds. So just know that there has been a tremendous amount of work already done. We've spent probably close to $4 million already, a little over $4 million on these various steps already. And so, but like I said, though, the project, when it's all said and done, is about a $75 million project, and that's just for that one interchange. We mentioned Singleton. We do have the $8 million through WRCOG secured. We have a $5 million earmark through Congressman Ken Calvert. That's pending approval through the fiscal year 25 federal budget. So once that funding is allocated, we'll be able to do construction on the on and off ramps. We're working with Caltrans to get that approved as well. In the meantime, that also does include realignment of Calimesa Boulevard. We actually are very close on that one. We'll probably be coming forward soon with resolutions of necessity for the right-of-way needed for the realignment, and that will clear the way. The construction drawings are ready to go, so once we acquire the right-of-way, we can construct the realignment, and the funding from WRCOG will be sufficient to cover that. And then the funding from Ken Calvert's office through the federal budget would be used for the construction on the I-10 main line itself, with matching funds coming from our WRCOG. So I just want to reassure that the council and the public that the staff has been working very tirelessly on these projects, and there's been a lot of activity. It's just, I think people don't realize the amount of time and effort and headaches, I guess you could say, of working through the process with Caltrans. I know a city in the central part of the region that has been working on just the project approval environmental document phase for 10 years, just on the one phase. So that just gives you a flavor of how difficult and how time consuming all of these processes are. So hopefully that answered the question.
No, definitely will. Thank you, and thank you for the team as well too for working hard for our small city here.
Are there any more questions for Mr. Brown? Okay, thank you so much
Thank you.
for your information. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Will, for that explanation. Now the public knows when you ask us, why aren't you doing this? Why it's such a difficult question to answer. It's a lengthy, multifaceted process. So thank you for all that information. Okay, so at this point, is there any public testimony on this item? Okay, without none, then I'm going to close the public testimony and also close the public hearing and open it up for council discussion. You want to start here?
I have nothing to add. I thought the presentation was sufficient.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Will covered a lot there, but I think overall, as far as I had a lot of questions for the program. There's a lot goes into this program, but I think us for being a small city on this freeway, it's a disadvantage to us in many ways for being so small. But I think with this program, that kind of levels the playing field for us. So I think for us, it's a definitely big advantage to stay involved in this program and moving forward.
Thank you. Jeff?
Yeah, so I'm new to WRCOG, and you know, to the you just notified me that I'm going to be part of the negotiations or the conversation. So thank you. But yeah, I think that there's a lot more we can do together than by ourselves, and I think that's the spirit behind this program. It's the more money we have going into the pool, the more we can accomplish, as long as it's allocated fairly and equitably. And I think that's why we have the executive committee members to talk about what that should look like. But I don't have any further comments. I can make the recommendation when you want, Mayor.
Okay.
I agree with Jeff as well too. Thank you for the presentation. It was very informative as well too. Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, I'll look for, under item 8, they're making a motion to approve items 2 and 3. Stephen, do we need to read them out loud, or can we just make it in one motion to approve items 2 and 3 for number 8?
You can make it in one motion. You waive reading of the full
Okay.
title. I'm sorry. We'll need to read the title of the ordinance, but you
Okay.
waive full reading.
Okay, so just if you'd like to. do
Yeah,
that.
so I'll recommend that the city council adopt first reading by title only, ordinance number 408, and adopt resolution number 2025-01. Oh, the entire title, I just can't read the. Oh, just item 2. So, Okay, so I'm going to adopt first reading by title only ordinance number 408, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Calimesa amending and superseding ordinance number 351 to amend chapter 18.105 of the Calimesa Municipal Code to update participation in the Western Riverside County Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee, TUMF, program and making a finding of exception under CEQA, and adopt resolution number 2025-01.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 No opposition? That's 5-0. Thank you very much. Okay, before we move on to business items, we don't have the fire and sheriff reports on the agenda. Did we?
Those are only on the first meetings of the month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You guys are off the hook. All right, so we'll go to business items. Item number 9. Will?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So this item is to receive feedback and direction from the City Council regarding the city's community partnerships. For a number of years, the city has provided funding to various organizations, including the Calimesa Cultural Performing Arts, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Memorial Day event, among others. The amount has grown over the years. I looked back at previous budgets. In fiscal year 15-16, the amount was $8,540, and that has grown to $16,240 in the original adopted budget. But the council did approve a one-time additional amount for the Calimesa Cultural Performing Arts, so they got a total of $8,000, and then that brought the total to just over $20,000. As we continue to grow as the community, staff felt this is a good time to review the program that we have to ensure that it meets the goals of the City Council and the community. Timing also makes sense in a time of rising costs for core services in the face of relatively flat revenues. Other cities have similar programs that have a process to allow for applications, deliberations, and selections of nonprofits to receive funding. Staff discussed our current process with the Finance Committee, which, hold on to make sure. We did discuss our current process with the Finance Committee, and that does include a review of nonprofit status of each organization. But we do not currently have a formalized process. So what we've done is we've just kind of carried forward the nonprofits that we've done every year from year to year. So tonight, what we're seeking direction on is a couple of things. First, we want to make sure that the council wants to maybe continue with the program. Obviously, these are taxpayer funds and they are discretionary funds of the council, and the city. And secondly, if we do want to continue the program, if the council would like to explore a more formal process. If the council would like to continue the program and wants to create a formal process, we would need some time to establish policies and protocols. And the reason we recommend going in that direction is, number one, it does give other nonprofits a chance to get involved with these funds. And secondly, it does provide the council some feedback as to what the funds will be used for by those nonprofits. Because right now, all that we have in the budget is we list who's getting them, but we don't really list what they're for. So this will provide a little more transparency to the process, and it will provide, again, like I said, it will also provide maybe additional nonprofits that may want to participate but don't know that they can. So, and obviously we would want to target Calimesa-based nonprofits. That'd be the recommendation. The council can go in any direction they'd like. So if we do create that process, it will take us some time to establish policies and protocols. We are not going to try to reinvent the wheel. Other cities have done this successfully, and they've got very solid programs in place. So we do have something to kind of model off after. So we're not going to have to start with square one, but it still will take some time. And we do plan on working with the Finance Committee to establish those protocols to bring back to council. So if we were to go in that direction, we would probably likely come back sometime in maybe late summer for adoption. So we're not looking for specifics on the program tonight. We're just looking for just general overview about kind of feelings about what we want to do and if we want to go in that direction. We're also not looking for dollar amounts tonight as well. That will be done as part of the budget process. So at this point, I I would like to hand it back over to the mayor and city council for discussion. And I can answer any questions you have.
I actually, you took my words out of my mouth. So I agree with Will. Everything that you said, I'm on board for that.
So I'll open it up to council for discussion. Yeah, you want to start it?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I like what Will had to say about that. I think for us to be able to see what each request is, where those funds are going to be spent, especially as it pertains to our citizens or programs for our citizens, I'd really like to see that. That would give, at least from my perspective, a better understanding, and I could get behind those projects. Other ideas, such as I know Mike Barron has come and asked for monies for PASS. That's a PASSCOM. That's an organization that also helps our citizens. So it would be good if we could see those line items and those kind of expenditures and a little breakdown of that. So I would support that.
John?
Yeah, I agree with Councilmember. Kind of, I'll just add, I think it'd be helpful to have a application period, which I think is what we're kind of talking about. Open it up for a period of time. We can accept and review the applications if it close, and then we can decide from there.
Jeff?
Yeah, I want to echo, I think, all what everyone said so far. I think it's important for us to have a community partnership program, but I think having more oversight is a good idea, and having a fair process to how those funds are allocated to the different programs, which I think the application process will do. I think as part, I know you're not looking for specifics right now, but I think as part of that, I think these programs should demonstrate how what they're doing is going to align with the city's goals, right? Instead of us just giving money in a willy-nilly sort of way. It should be on them to demonstrate how what they're going to do with those funds and how that's going to benefit our community. And then after the fact, yeah, show what I would like to see, not just receipts of what of course they need to demonstrate what they spent their money on, but I'd like to actually have a summary of what they did with those monies, come back, or a report or something. Here's what we did. Here's, I think that would be very beneficial to hear about that. So, all in favor of it. I think it's important. I think we should actually set a dollar amount at some point, whatever that happens to be, so we know what we're working with, discretionary dollar amount, and then we could talk about those details later. But yeah. Is there any other input you need right now, Will, or is that basically
No,
all you're
it
looking
sounds
for?
like
Okay.
I have got solid direction. I think what I would say though is that since obviously we're not going to be able to put together a process and a protocol to make that to do that application process prior to the adoption of the budget, I think for this year the focus would be on how much we want to allocate to the program. And then we could do an application process later on into the fiscal year to determine how those funds are going for the first year.
Mm-hmm.
And then going forward, once we have that in place, we can do that. We can maybe call for applications maybe this time next year for fiscal year 26, 27. And then we'll be able to adopt that and have that in place when the fiscal year goes into effect.
Yeah.
And you'll need the time to fully vet all the applications that come through.
Right, and I think what we would do is we would have like an initial, kind of what I envision is an initial screening process at the staff level, not based on any direction or anything like that, just to make sure it's a legitimate nonprofit. They have all their paperwork on file with the IRS and the Secretary of State and all that stuff, because there are certain protocols that nonprofits have to follow. And we're kind of doing that already, but we would have that as part of our policy. And if you don't have that, if you're not established as a nonprofit, we wouldn't even bring you forward for consideration. So you have to kind of pass that first test. Once you pass that first test, then obviously if the council can, it's at the council's discretion whether you want to have it only Calimesa based nonprofits, or they do services in Calimesa, or you can establish different criteria, but that will be something that we can deal with later. So.
Will?
Thank you.
Sorry, quick question.
Yes.
As I mentioned it earlier, the request that Mike Barron had brought up, is that something that we would ask about now? Because the request was made at a council meeting the last time we were together, so is there?
I think that I would say probably that's more appropriate for a budget discussion. And so we would include it in next year's budget. So if you want to go in that direction, ahead of time, of course, that is at the complete discretion of the council. So if there is a request to bring that forward sooner, we certainly can do that. But that's at your discretion.
So would I make that request now?
If that's what you're asking, yes.
Yeah, on behalf of PASCOM, the $500 amount that they had requested, I would like us to do something with that, either tell them yes or no. Preferably yes, because I believe in what they're doing, but I don't know how the rest of my colleagues feel about that.
What I would recommend is, since this is more of a general discussion, we can bring that to that specific item discussed at the next council meeting. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so you're
I think I have the direction I need.
all right.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so that brings us to mayor and council member reporting of county and regional meetings. We'll start over here with Eric.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did not attend any regional meetings the last couple of weeks, and so therefore that concludes my report, other than to say thank you to staff for all their hard work.
Thank you. John?
Thank you, Mayor. I did not attend any regional meetings. That'll conclude my report.
Thank you. Jeff?
Also did not attend any regional meetings, but a summary of the regional meetings I attended last month were provided in the agenda packet, so I'll do that for future meetings as well. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Edgar?
I haven't attended any meetings as well too, but I have been meeting with Will to discuss certain things that has been happening at the Summer Awareness Community. So I want to say thank you to Will and to the team as well too for following up on my questions and with the concerns out there.
Thank you so much. Okay, I just attended a couple of meetings on February 4th. Actually, Eric, you attended the Yucaipa Valley Water District meeting. Yeah, you did. We attended the Yucaipa Valley Water District meetings. We're going to be asking them, or we've already asked them to come and give us updates, just like we asked South Mesa, so we'll be getting that in the future. I attended on the 5th, attended RTA Budget Finance meeting with Routine Matters. On February 6th, attended a SCAG Joint Committee in Los Angeles, and it was actual 3 committees, SCAG committees that met as one meeting, and it was led by a panel of experts on the fires. And so they gave an in-depth presentation, and as soon as I get that information, it'll be provided to council and the staff and anybody in the audience who would like it. Attended a Yucaipa Calimesa Joint Unified School District meeting, met the new trustee Regina Cruz, and welcomed David Avila, former Yucaipa mayor and chair of SBCTA. He's now on the school board. And I missed my Metrolink meeting on the 13th because I had to serve jury duty on the 14th. And so on Valentine's Day. Then on the 17th was Flag Day. Lions Club puts out flags. And on the 18th today, we actually had city manager and myself attended a Zoom meeting with Senator Ochoa Bogue and discussed some issues. She requested us to discuss some issues that are on our horizon for this year, as well as what we want from her. And just one last item, I just wanted to announce that you'll be hearing that the school lunch program is back this year. We do every year at the 4th Street Park, and that's going to take place from June 10th to July 18th. Usually lunch is about 10:30 or 11:30. I request early so it's not so hot for the kids to come to lunch. And there are 3 days that there won't be any lunch program, and that's June 19th and 20th. I believe that's the new holiday, Juneteenth. And then 4th of July, of course. And that's all that I have. So at this point, I'll turn it over to our city manager.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. I just have one item I wanted to report on, and it's funny we were just following that discussion about community partnerships. So, the Senior Center recently received a large donation of non-perishable food items to create food boxes for homebound seniors. So this is kind of in response of the sunsetting of the Grab and Go meal program. So a number of the participants in the Grab and Go meal program had people come on their behalf and then picked up items because they weren't able to come get them themselves. So there's about 60 seniors that were that were homebound within that program. Unfortunately, they've shared with us that we're kind of outside the zone of all the different types of programs that provide in-home meal programs like Meals on Wheels and those type of programs. That there's nobody that serves us because apparently the ones that serve Riverside County don't really see us as part of Riverside County, and then San Bernardino County, obviously we're not in their county, so we're kind of in this no man's land. It seems like that's a theme for us. So Summer Wells, the director of our senior center, has been trying to do different things to be able to at least provide services for these homebound seniors. And so they did get this large donation, and they've been able to make contact with about a dozen of those that were homebound. So they've identified those people, and so based on the donations they received, they estimate they have enough food for about 10 months to serve those dozens of seniors. However, in order to ensure the food being given is a well-rounded nutritionally, there's some items that are missing to make it that way. I just met with her today. They requested additional funds to get the food needed to balance the nutrition. But at the same time, they are still actively seeking monetary donations. They're trying to get in touch with Morongo. They've talked to Stater Brothers and others, and they're going to continue to accept both monetary donations and food donations as well. But they estimate that their need is about between $1,000 and $5,000, depending on the level of other donations to round out that monthly food box. FSA, as part of that, is also going to donate milk and bread for each of those boxes as well. So that'll come from them. So again, this would provide food boxes for 10 months worth of meals. So this isn't on the agenda. So what I want to seek direction on is if there's a consensus for the city council to bring this item back. If there is consensus to do that, I probably would have Summer come and make that presentation to ask for that, and we can kind of maybe delve into deeper as to what the need is and what we're serving. So I told her I would pass that along to the council, so that's what I'm doing, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. And that does conclude my report.
Thank you. Eric, you want to start with comments?
Yeah. Will, what was the amount? Was that an annual amount that they need for the food?
It's a one-time amount at this point because they're just talking about a 10-month program. But this was a large donation. The donor, she told me who the donor was, but they wished to remain anonymous. So I will respect that. But so beyond that, if there's not an ongoing donation program, they might not be able to sustain it. But at least, again, it's to try to build a bridge a gap. I think she's going to try to work with some of the nonprofits that provide in-home meals for seniors to get them to serve our area. And so this will basically buy her some time to be able to do that. So I think this is a one-time. I think that the request is one time.
Right. So if she's able to allocate those individuals to continue that program, then the cost would then fall on the city to fund? Or
No, the city would not be funding this. This is just just a request that they had for us to do that. There's no obligation for the city to do it, but I told her I would pass that word along. So, but again, if there are community donations to allocate that, and they prefer the monetary because basically what they can do is then they can figure out exactly what they need and go procure it.
Right.
Because the donations could be, they get a lot of one thing and not enough of something else, but this way they could actually round out, complement what they already have. So that's why they're seeking monetary donations.
I see.
So.
Okay, thank you.
And Will, you said you had an amount of people that have been collecting the lunches. Did you mention?
Yeah, she'd identified about a dozen that they're going to serve from these items that they received. Yeah.
Thank you. Jeff, do you have any comments?
Yeah, so Will, this would be an example of the community partnership program, right? So if
Correct.
we had the application, we would hand them the application in this case, and then you would screen it, then you would forward it to us.
Correct.
And
yeah.
we would, okay.
Another thing that we're going to explore is the possibility of using community development block grant funds. There are some strings attached to that as far as reporting and obligations for subrecipients. So there could be some complications with that, but that's a conversation we have to explore further with them too. So it may not be general fund dollars. We may be able to leverage CDBG funding to provide to them, because it is an eligible cost under CDBG, but we don't know if they have the capability to do the subrecipient reporting and monitoring.
Okay.
So we'd have to do the monitoring of that too. So that does take some staff time too.
Yeah. Well, I'm in favor of inviting her out and giving her presentation, so.
Okay. So we can bring that to the next meeting as well. All right.
Edgar, did you have any comments?
No, I'm actually in favor too, because I used to volunteer when I was younger, and Raul's is actually, the Raul's Distribution Center is actually one of the biggest donors as well too, just like Sarah Brothers. So I used to volunteer over there at the Moreno Valley area. So, but it seems like the person's exhausting all measures to utilize everything that they need, and then last resort will be us, which I am all on board for that.
So I think we have consensus to bring it up at the next council meeting.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, we have no other comments. At 7:22, I'll call the meeting to adjournment, and I'd like to thank the staff for all the work they do to get these meetings put on. So thank you very much. You put in a lot of hard work. And thank you, audience, for coming tonight. Have a good night.